Black woman had our back. She always put us on the map. She nurtured us from a babe. So first teacher, look at that.
We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people.
Yeah.
How can you cancel this? How can you fight the skill attacking that? Point out the message, give them that, but they don't get the raps. Real spit coughing up saliva, and stories to become air. Way more. I gotta speak for my soul, like I'm already home, but they didn't understand my poem. When I had it wrote down on that sheet of paper, my pen was major, like I'm working for the government. Yo, you steady spit, but tell your chick to goggle this sagacious flow, wise and intelligent, but I don't have a scholarship. Hate who? Hate this, I really appreciate it. Tilted all my haters, it be shit on the paper.
What's good, black people? First and foremost, if you're a first-time viewer of my content of this video, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. So I'm doing another Q&A, and another black person asked me, can I be friends with white people? You know, they're just coming into consciousness, they're just coming into being quote-unquote pro-black and about RBG, red, black, and green. And they're asking me, am I allowed, or can I be with white people? Can I associate with white people? How do I associate with white people? And can I be their friends? If I ever run into a sincere or sympathetic white person, or somebody who comes off with a quote-unquote positive vibe. Well, I'm glad you asked this, because there's a lot of circulation about this, and you know, people who start to come into consciousness will seem to have this sort of confusion. You know, they have this back and forth bickering with themselves consciously, like, you know, it kind of looks hypocritical, or you know, maybe, you know, so you'll have that. You know, one thing we have to keep in mind is how we see white people as a race. White people as a race are white supremacists, right? And I'm gonna deal with a video later on, you know, concerning the truth behind white people and where they stand. I'm also do another Q&A on what is racism, because somebody asked me what is racism, and can black people be racist, and I'm gonna touch on that a little bit in this video, but I won't get too much into it. But concerning whether or not you can be friends with white people, you have to understand where white people play in the position of your oppression. Okay, we have to understand that every white person is an activist of white supremacy. Every white person has privilege. Every white person has the authority and the dominion and the power to adversely impact your life. Okay, it happens consciously and subconsciously. It happens when you're aware of it, and it happens when you're unaware of it. It happens when you're watching TV. It happens when you go to their restaurants and you eat their food. It happens when you go to their movie theater. It happens when you go to their markets. It happens both consciously and subconsciously and unconsciously. Okay, so you have to understand that while you're going through these different routes, while you're going through these particular situations on your everyday basis, you are still being programmed by white supremacy. The radio station that you're listening to, even the music that comes on, you're still being programmed by white people, by white supremacy. So you have to understand, where do white people play in a position of your oppression? You have white people who will come around you and they will peer pressure you into being their friend. And I won't even see it as a more of a peer pressure, but you'll have particular white people who will come up to you and they'll come off as sympathetic and, I'm just so sorry what happened to you and your people, and or you'll have that one white person be like, oh my God, I just hate white people, you know, they're just so, they'll try to play this sort of sympathetic, this sort of friendly figure to you in order to tranquilize you. Okay, and of course you might have that one, oh, this man's an idiot, I ain't trying to do none of that. And see, here's the thing though, because even whether or not a white person is aware of it, they're subconsciously playing their role. They are subconsciously playing the role as a white supremacist to tranquilize and keep the masses of black people sleep. This is why you have most white people who hate people who are about black empowerment. You'll have these particular white people who hate when a black man is unapologetically black, a black man who is unapologetically African at that, a black man who exclusively dates black women and says up front that he wants to build a black family. That is a threat to white supremacy, and they see that as a threat. When you have a black person who says that I want to create an organization and I don't want to have any other white people or anybody other than black people at the table, that's a threat. Because even J. Edgar Hoover said within the FBI files that within unity there is strength. And there is agendas, there are strategies, there are methods that are put out there to prevent the uprise of black people, to prevent the uprise of us as a race, as a nation, and to prevent us from unifying. Okay? So we have to keep that in mind. So with all that being said, you have to realize when you associate with these particular white people, they don't see your struggle consciously. They don't know what it's like for you to be black. They can only sympathize, right? And when you have these sympathetic white people, you have to understand that they're coming from a liberal standpoint. You have to understand that when they come at you and they say that I'm not like those bad white people, or I'm not like how my ancestors were, or, you know, all the stuff that happened to you or to your ancestors, you know, I was never a part of it. That was my great-grandfather or whatever. I never enslaved you or your people. You have to understand all of this is a liberal rhetoric. All of this is made for you to be tranquilized, for you to be put asleep, so that you won't be a threat to white supremacy. So when you have these particular white people who will come up to you as if they are friendly, coming to you as if, you know, they're just your best friend and, you know, they can relate to you in your struggle, or they want to be a contributor. What can I do? You know, you have these particular white people who will say, oh, let's come together and fight this. Let's come together and fight racism. You know, let's overcome it together. Now, mind you, there hasn't been any white organization, there hasn't been any group of white people that have came together to overcome or to take down white supremacy. Reason being, they not only benefit from white supremacy, but they are activists, they are contributors, they are members of white supremacy. And white supremacy is more than just a government. It's an organization. It's a system. It's a global system at that. And it works in many ways and many strategies. And if you read ISIS papers that was made by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she goes through the different methods that white supremacy plays. They plays with our entertainment. They play with our labor. They play with in terms of sex, in terms of education, so on and so forth, etc., etc. I won't list all of them, but you have to understand when you have these particular white people who want to be friendly to you, who come off to you as being friendly. Number one, let's make it clear that when you are unapologetically black, you make them uncomfortable. Just the average white person, when you are unapologetically black, when you say that I don't want any other woman than a black woman for you being a black man, you make them uncomfortable because you triggered their subconscious where a black man is supposed to serve them, supposed to contribute and compromise to them. Even Malcolm X makes this known that, you know, when black people started to have a backbone, when black people started to stand up and would no longer be at the heel of white people, and, you know, they wanted to be off the plantation, when black people started to speak unapologetically about being black and started speaking against white people and what white people have done towards black people, they wanted to accuse him of hate speech. They wanted to accuse him of hating white people. And Malcolm X was like, white people got some nerves to accuse another race, especially black people, to accuse them of hatred while blood is dripping from their hands, which is to metaphorically say, after everything that white people have done to black people, after everything that white supremacy have done to our ancestors, to black people, and to this day, you got a lot of nerves to try and accuse a black person of hatred or to be racist, when we never had a system or any type of organization in which we could instill our so-called hatred to you and make you inferior, or to make you seem inferior, where you will lose your knowledge of self, where you will lose your identity, where you will lose your spirituality and your name and your whole conduct of life, where you will be considered 3/5 of a human being, where animals and cattle will be considered more valuable than you, where your whole body will be exploited. And if you was to even blink the wrong way at a white woman, if you were a black man, if you was to even blink or look at a white woman the wrong way, you would be castrated and hung. And you got some nerves to try and tell a black man like me, or to try and tell a black woman that they are producing, or that they're creating, or that they're spreading self-hate, or excuse me, not self-hate, but they're spreading hate, or that we are speaking hate speech. Because we are informing our people to love themselves and to no longer be contributors to your system. That's a threat to white supremacy. But getting back to the topic at hand, because I'll deal with that at another time. But getting back to the topic at hand, for somebody who is about black empowerment, for somebody who is about the upliftment and the advancement of their people, who set their people first before anybody else and anything else, who objectives, who alliance and allegiance is for black people and to black people and are black people. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't associate, not associate, but you wouldn't have white people in your inner circle, which means to say you wouldn't have white people that you would consider friends. You would more likely have white people that you would consider your enemy. But even at that, if we was to look at it from a general perspective, you have white people that you would consider your associates, right? You don't have a choice in the system, in this society, but to be associates to white people, right? That's how you get business done. That's how you get certain interactions done, right? So, of course you have to interact and you have to associate with particular white people, but that does not mean you have to include them in your inner circle. That doesn't mean that you have to like them, right? And if you particularly hate a group of people or dislike a group of people, that does not equate, or that's not essential for you to be accused of being a racist, or that doesn't make you a racist, because you don't have the power, you don't have the authority, you don't have the privilege to impact their life, right? If me as a black person, if I was to say that I hate white people, right? And, I don't hate anybody, I don't have the time or the energy to hate anybody, but that's just to say, I hate white people. I don't have the power, I don't have the privilege, I don't have a system backing me up to instill that self-hatred, or to act upon that self-hatred. You know what I'm saying? So, to conclude this, if you're about black empowerment, for the black man who asked me this, if you are about black empowerment, if you are about black people, if you're about uplifting your black woman, then you wouldn't have white people that you would consider your friends. Not saying that you do, but you wouldn't consider any white person your friend, because you know the position that they play, their role that they play. Even if they come off so sincere and nice and they're funny and entertaining and they make you feel comfortable, because you do have white people like that who will make you feel comfortable enough for you to smile with them and laugh with them and talk with them. And there's nothing wrong with associating with white people, and laughing and talking and having, conversations. But you still have to be aware of the role that they're playing. You have to be aware of the role and the position that they're playing, even if they're not aware of it. they are psychologically programmed to tranquilize you, because they don't even like particular white people, black people who are about black empowerment. And I mean unapologetically. When I went to school with particular white people. They hated me. They hated me. They would stalk my page. They would stalk my Instagram page. And they would say that I was a black KKK member. And just me having being unapologetic about how much I didn't like white women, how much I love black women. They didn't like that either. These were particular white people that I went to school with, that used to laugh with me and that used to hang out with me and chill with me, and oh my goodness, they used to take pictures with me and smile with me, and oh my God, I just love that him. I just love him. He's like my best friend. Had white people like that. But when I was aware, when I became aware that these people were playing me like a fiddle, when I was aware of my being and my essence and what it means to be black, and what this system is doing against me, and how everything around me is basically a matrix, when I began to have self-pride, when I began to have self-respect and dignity for myself, and to no longer be pushed around or to be picked around like how I used to, before I woke up. And when I started to study their history, they didn't like that either. When I began to reveal and expose their history and what they did to black people and what they continue to do to black people, they didn't like that either. So then the first thing they tried to do was accuse me of being a racist. The first thing they tried to do was accuse me of being of hate speech, that I was spreading hate and that I was bitter, So it's very hypocritical for a white person to try and point fingers at you, and they got 3 fingers pointing right back at them, But to conclude this, for the black man who asked me this, can you have white friends? If you are about black empowerment, no. Because you wouldn't have white people or non-black people in your inner circle, because that alone tranquilizes you or holds you back from your full potential of being revolutionary, right? And excuse my eyes, it's late and my eyes are burning. But until next time, I'm Tyrone. I'm going to be making a video, like I said before, I was going to be making a video concerning racism and concerning the truth behind white people and the position that they play within the system, right? So I just want to touch on that a little bit in this video. But until next time, I'm Tyrone. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share this video with other people, comment below what you thought, how you felt about what I had to say. If you like what I had to say, if you didn't like what I had to say, mention all that in the comment section below. And support my clothing line business. The link to that website will be in the description box below, and the link to the song that you saw in the beginning of this video will also be in the description box below as well. But until next time, I'm Tyrone. I'm out.
In America, white children are raised to be white supremacists, meaning to believe that they're superior. And as they're raised, they're integrated into a system of power that protects their alleged superiority. We as African people have never enslaved and captured European people, taken them from their land, raped their women, changed their culture, suppressed their ability to be educated, and do all of the wicked things that white America has done to African people. Therefore, there is no such thing in my mind as reverse racism, because reverse racism would imply that we had in some way even the scales, and certainly as African people, we have not done that.
You know any white Americans who resisted that education and went the other way?
Resisted what education?
The education to grow up superior.
It depends on what you say as went the other way.
Fought for equal rights, got involved in the civil rights movement, put their life on the lines as young men did in Mississippi and Alabama in the civil rights movement. You don't think whites did that?
I think that there are white people who have made ostensible moves towards addressing the system, but I think when we get down to the fundamental issues of power, meaning not the question of whether blacks and whites can go to restaurants together, or whether Africans and Europeans can marry one another, not the ostensible questions, but when it comes down to the question of power, white people, European people in this country have not served us well.
When white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people all around this entire globe? It doesn't exist. So who are these white good people? I want to meet them. I want to see them. I know it's not enough.
But that might be all we can get.
And guess what? I don't work with all I can get. What I work with is what I have. Listen, you have to have some ourselves to establish a foundation. No, we haven't. We have utter chaos in our cities, and you've got to say that. You can have a program. I'm not saying we've built a lot of institutions, and those institutions have not been effective. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically, and you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program, millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world, and if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us, and that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future? The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically, and you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program, millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world, and if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us, and that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future?
Somewhere where you said you have never met any good white people.
I said in the beginning of my slavery video that I hadn't met any good white people, and my definition of good is that you understand that this is a question of power, that you be willing to give up some power, that you be willing to give up some resources, that you be willing to pay black people reparations for our years and years of service in this country, that you be willing to go home and tell your white mother and father about white racism and how it affects and kills black people in our communities. That's my definition of good white people, and I haven't met any like that.
Mr. X, hi. I've read some of your speeches, and I honestly believe that a lot of what you have to say is true. And I'm a good person in spite of what my ancestors did. I wanted to ask you, what can a white person like myself, who isn't prejudiced, what can I do to help you and further your cause?
Nothing.
I'm a true terrorist.
I would never doubt that this is where I belong.
You see what I've become, my life has moved so fast, my work is never done, through the looking glass I see, no time for looking back, the past is in the past, the future's in my grasp.
In a place mentally like it's meant to be, heaven sent for me, the universal entity, drive matches intensity.